Hi, my name is Dean Paul Denniston, and today we'll be replacing the throttle and electronic brake on the Razor E Prime. This is a relatively difficult procedure as it has multiple stages and requires specialized tools. This process should take you approximately 45 minutes from start to finish. You will need the following tools: a Phillips screwdriver, a standard screwdriver, a 2mm Allen wrench, a 3mm Allen wrench, and a 5mm Allen wrench. You will also need a box cutter, a pair of needle nose pliers, a pair of snap ring pliers, a bottle of soapy water, heat shrink tubing, 1/2 inch in diameter, and finally, a heat gun. This process can be completed in 4 steps. Step 1, removing the throttle and the electronic brake. Step 2, removing the extension wire. Step 3, installing your new extension wire. And Step 4, reinstalling your throttle and electronic brake. The reason this is a difficult process is that each step has several stages that may take a while to complete. But if you take your time and follow along, we'll get through this together. So let's get started on Step 1, removing the throttle and the electronic brake. As with working on any electronic product, always make sure to turn off the power before you begin. Using your 5mm Allen wrench, loosen the 2 bolts on the collar clamp. You don't need to fully remove the bolt, just loosen them both until you can remove the bars. With both bolts loose, slide off the handlebar, and this will reveal the throttle and electronic brake plug. It's covered in heat shrink tubing, which we'll now cut off. Using your box cutter, carefully cut off the heat shrink tubing. You want to be very careful to avoid cutting the wires. With the tubing removed, disconnect the plug. Simply pinch and separate. For the rest of Step 1, we'll be working strictly on the handlebar, so you can set the lower half aside. Next, we have to remove the quick release lever. Open it up and extend the bars. Now using your 5mm Allen wrench, loosen the quick release lever. Next, flip the bars over, and using your 3mm Allen wrench, remove the bolt on the back. Set the bolt aside and be sure not to lose it. As you're taking parts off, I would recommend grouping them together and taking note of where they came from. Now slide the collar clamp up. Push the pin in and remove the lower half of the bar. And set it aside. Now slide off the collar clamp. Using your Phillips screwdriver, press in the locking pin and slide the block downward. Now take your needle nose pliers, grab the block, pull it out gently, and be careful not to let the locking pin spring out. And add it to the pile. Now we're going to remove the grommet. Flip the bar over, and using your standard screwdriver, gently pry the grommet out. Now you can pull the wires out of the hole. This may be a little tricky and requires some finagling. And remove the grommet from the wire. Add the grommet to the pile. Using your standard screwdriver, pry off the end caps of the grip. Add them to the pile. Using your 2mm Allen wrench, loosen the screws on the bottom of the throttle and the electronic brake. Slide the throttle inward. Insert your standard screwdriver under the grip. Pry it upward. And using your bottle of soapy water, spray some soapy water in there. Remove the screwdriver and twist the grip until it comes off. With the grip off, add it to the pile, and repeat the process for the other side. Slide the brake back, insert your standard screwdriver under the grip, pry it up, and spray in your soapy water. Twist and pull off the grip. Slide the throttle off, followed by the brake. And that concludes step 1, removing your throttle and electronic brake. And now on to step 2, removing the extension wire. The first thing we're going to do is remove the black plastic cover. Using your Phillips screwdriver, remove the 2 screws in the front. Slide the cover off and add it to the pile. Next, we have to unplug the power switch and the extension cable. Pinch the connector and separate. Now we have to remove the bracket. Using your 3mm Allen wrench, remove the 4 screws securing the bracket. 1 on each side, and 2 in the middle. Before we can pull out the bracket, we have to remove the grommet and get the wires out of the way. Using your standard screwdriver, press the grommet through the frame. Be careful not to cut the grommet. And add the grommet to the pile. Next, feed the 2 wires we unplugged through the frame. Now we can slide the bracket straight out and add it to the pile. Next, let's remove the side plates. Using your Phillips screwdriver, remove the 2 screws holding the plates on. It's a weird angle, so be very careful not to strip the screws. With one cover off, the screw to the other cover is easy to get to. Using your needle nose pliers, disconnect the bottom half of the spring. And now the top half. And pull the spring out. And add it to the pile. Now we have to remove the pin to separate the top half from the bottom half. Using your snap ring pliers, insert the tips of the pliers into the holes of the ring and separate. Now we can slide out the pin. This allows the 2 halves to separate. We're working on the front half, so you can set the back half aside. Slide out the other pin and add it to the pile. Now we can remove the anti-rattle knob. It helps to tighten down the anti-rattle knob all the way. Using your 3mm Allen wrench, remove the screw on the back. The bolt comes glued in. This may make it difficult to remove. Just take your time and be careful not to strip the bolt. Add the screw to the pile. Now loosen the anti-rattle knob all the way. Pull out the anti-rattle knob and slide out the block. Using your 2mm Allen wrench, remove the screw on the top of the power switch. With the screw removed, we can pull out the power switch. Now slide out the extension cable. And that concludes step 2, removing the extension cable. And now on to step 3, installing your new extension wire. Insert the wire into the tube. It doesn't matter which way you put it in, as both sides have the same plug. Route the wire all the way down and out of the bottom. Now we can attach the power switch. Insert the wire into the hole and out of the bottom, and pop the power switch into place. Now using your 2mm Allen wrench, tighten the screw down. Now we can install the anti-rattle knob. Start by inserting the block, round side first and flat side up. Make sure one wire is on each side of the block. Now take your anti-rattle knob and thread it through. And on the back side, insert the screw and tighten it down with the 3mm Allen wrench. And now slide the hexagonal pin through the block. Now bring back the deck and attach the two halves. Feed the wires through the hole in the deck. And insert the pin from the left side. This pin holds the two halves together. Make sure the pin goes over the wires and reattach the snap ring to the pin. When the snap ring's on, take your needle nose pliers and crimp it down. Now we can attach the spring. Using the needle nose pliers, put the top hook on first and pull the bottom hook over the bottom pin. Flip the scooter over and let's reinstall the plate. Insert the wires through the hole in the plate and slide the plate in. Insert the bolts and tighten them down with your 3mm Allen wrench. Two on the sides and two in the middle. Attach the grommet. Put it in from the top side. Make sure the wires are going through the holes in the grommet. Use your standard screwdriver to help press it through, but be careful not to cut the grommet. The grommet can be a little difficult to get through, but just be patient until it does. Reconnect the power switch and the throttle. They each have a unique plug, so you can't mix them up. Fold the scooter and slide the cover on. Insert the two screws and tighten them down with your Phillips screwdriver. Now we can install the end caps. You'll notice the insides say left and right. That'll tell you which side they go on. Place the end cap on and secure it using your Phillips screwdriver. And do the same for the other side. Be very careful not to strip the screw. And that concludes step 3, installing your new extension wire. Now on to step 4, installing your new throttle and electronic brake. Insert your throttle onto the right side. The back side of the bars have the groove. And insert the brake onto the left side. Make sure the wires are facing inward. Now we can attach the grips. Notice the grips say E Prime on them. E Prime should be on the outside of the grip. Take your soapy water, spray it in the grip, and slide the grips on the bars. Do the same with the other grip. Now we can install the end caps. The inside will tell you which side they go on. Just press it in the hole. And do the same for the other side. Slide the throttle against the grip and tighten it down with your 2mm Allen wrench. Once it's secure, do the same with the electronic brake. Slide the throttle and electronic brake wire through the grommet. Bring the grommet up and over the splitter. Insert the wire into the hole in the handlebars. And feed it all the way down. Insert the splitter through the hole. and attach the grommet. Now install your locking pin and block. Press the pin down, slide the block in, until the pin pops through the hole. Place the quick release lever on the lower half of the bars. Slide the cable and the bars into the lower half. Press the pin to slide them together. And reinstall the screw on the back of the quick release lever. Tighten it down all the way using your 3mm Allen wrench. And using your 5mm Allen wrench, tighten down the lever. Slide the bars down. This will give you extra wire to work with. Time to bring back the deck. Add the heat shrink tubing to the wire. Plug the wires together. Slide the heat shrink tubing over the connector. And shrink it down using your heat gun. Apply heat evenly to the entire heat shrink tubing. Now we can reinstall the bars. Extend them. Slide them onto the fork. Line them up with the front wheel. And tighten down the collar clamp with your 5mm Allen wrench. Now hit the power and make sure it works. And that concludes step 4 in the process of replacing your throttle and electronic brake. I hope you found this video helpful and informative, but if you are still having any other troubles or complications, please feel free to visit the customer support section at razor.com. Now get out there and have some fun. Bye bye.